y'all. So I am back. So we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you see right here, we're going to do 9. So stay tuned. I'll be back with the books. Okay, so I'm back with the books. So the first book I have on my shelf is called the Yana Losi Riding Camp for Girls. I don't know what possessed me to pick this one up. I know I bought this one at the bookstore. It came out in 2013. So it tells you how long it's been on my shelf. It says, my parents sent me away because I wanted too much, wanted badly. And all that want was a dangerous thing. High in the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Yana Losi Riding Camp for Girls is a refuge of privilege in a land devastated by the Depression. Thea Atwell's arrival late in the summer season causes a ripple of intrigue and speculation, but even the most scandalous rumor cannot come close to the truth that devastated her family and brought her here. Fearless and unbroken, Thea soon finds that there is no banishment from secrets and temptations. Poised on the brink of adulthood, the events of that year will change the girls of Yana Losi in ways that we'll never forget. So, yeah, I think I'm going to keep this one because I'm curious to kind of understand what it is that made me want to pick this one up, because it's big enough to be interesting, but at the same time make you wonder, what is this really about? But I'm going to keep it. Okay, the next book on my list is this one right here. I, Mona Lisa, a novel by Jean Kaloglidis. This one right here. Now, I've had this book for a long time, and I've wanted to read it for a long time. This one came out in 2006. It says, Florence, April 1478. So we're in the 15th century. So it should be really interesting. The handsome Giuliano de' Medici is brutally assassinated in Florence's magnificent Duomo. The shock of the murder ripples throughout the great city, from the most renowned artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, to a wealthy wool merchant and his extraordinary beautiful daughter, Madonna Lisa. More than a decade later, Florence falls under the dark spell of the preacher Savonarola, a fanatic who burns paintings and books as easily as he sends men to their deaths. Lisa, now grown in an alluring woman, captures the hearts of Giuliano's nephew and namesake. But when Giuliano, her love, meets a tragic end, Lisa must gather all her courage and cunning to untangle a sinister web of illicit love, treachery, and dangerous secrets that threatens her life. So yeah, this one sounds very interesting. Now, this is not a short book. Okay, it looks a lot longer than it really is. It's coming in around 509 pages. So I'm going to keep this one because it sounds like a really interesting, like an interesting historical fiction. I haven't read anything 15th century. Yeah, so that should be super interesting. Okay, this next one, I remember getting this one. It's called A Reliable Wife by Robert Goodrich. I don't know if I'm going to keep this one. It says, he placed a notice in a Chicago paper, an advertisement for a reliable wife. She responded saying that she was a simple, honest woman. She was, of course, anything but honest, and the only simple thing about her was her single-minded determination to marry this man and then kill him, slowly and carefully, leaving herself a wealthy widow. What Catherine Land did not realize was that the enigmatic and lonely Ralph Truitt had a plan of his own. Okay, I'm interested. I'm going to keep this one and see what it's like. All right, next book is this one right here, which is, everybody knows it, On the Road by Jack Kerouac. y'all know what that's about. Now, this is a classic that I purchased because I said, this is a classic. I should probably try to read it. And I have not tried to read it yet. So I will try to read this at some point next year and see what it's all about, to see if I can actually really read it and enjoy it or DNF it. So I'm keeping that one. Okay, next I have this one, which is another one I'm interested in getting into. Ooh, look, another bookmark came out. These were all from the Book Depository. Okay, so this one is Sarah Waters' Fingersmith. This is one that everybody kind of knows about this one. I've always heard really good things about it, and people have always told me, oh my God, if you haven't read that, read that. So I'm definitely going to read this one. So it says, London, 1862. Sue Trinder, orphaned at birth, grows up among petty thieves, fingersmiths. Under the rough but loving care of Mrs. Suxby and her family, but from the moment she draws breath, Sue's fate is linked to that of another orphan growing up in a gloomy mansion not too many miles away. So yeah, this sounds like it could be really, really good. Now this is kind of long. I ain't gonna lie. This one is like 548 pages, but I hear it reads really well. So yeah. All right, the next one I have is J.M. Coetzee Elizabeth Costello. I have not read any J.M. Coetzee, but I found this in a bookstore, not a bookstore, a book sale. And I picked it up, even though somebody put plastic on it and they didn't do a very good job, but I don't care. You know, it was €1. I ain't gonna complain. So I feel like this is one I'm gonna keep as well. It says Elizabeth Costello is an Australian writer of international renown, famous principally for an early novel that established her reputation. She has reached the stage where her remaining function is to be venerated and applauded. Her life has become a series of engagements in sterile conference rooms throughout the world, a private consciousness obliged to reveal itself to a curious public. The presentation of a major award at an American college where she is required to deliver a lecture, a sojourn as the writer in residence on a cruise liner, a visit to her sister, a missionary in Africa who is receiving an honorary degree, an occasion which both recognize as the final opportunity for effecting some form of reconciliation, and a disquieting appearance at a writers' conference in Amsterdam, where she finds the subject of her talk unexpectedly amongst the audience. So yeah, so this could be kind of interesting, and it'll be my first foray into Coetzee. Okay, this one right here, I read this with my book club here in Normandy. It's called The Memory Keeper's Daughter. This is some kind of a family situation. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but I remember it was a very good read. I'm not going to read the back of this one, but I know this is one that people read a lot when it came out back in the day, whenever that was. Let's see, when was it back in the day? In 2005 is when we read this one. And I think I gave this 4 stars. I think it's really good. All right. The next one was this one right here called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by Dee Brown. This is a nonfiction that should be read if you want to know the plight of the Native Indigenous American. It's not for the faint at heart. Let's just put it that way. But it gives you a breakdown of this historical events around the Native Indigenous people of the U.S. And I highly recommend it. All right. I read that one with my book club here. Okay. This one is Ahab's Wife, or The Stargazer. This is by Senna Jeter Nyland. Yeah, Sinajeturn Island. This one, I don't know. I've had this one for a very long time and have not even cracked it. I don't even remember what it's about now. So it says from the opening line, Captain Ahab was neither my first husband nor my last. You will know that you are in the hands of a master storyteller and in the company of a fascinating woman hero. Okay, I'm going to keep it. Inspired by a brief passage in Moby Dick, Senajeter Naslin has created an enthralling and compellingly readable saga spanning a rich, eventful, and dramatic life. At once a family drama, a romantic adventure, and a portrait of a real and loving marriage. Ahab's Wife gives new perspective on the American experience. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this one, and it just reminds me that I still haven't read Moby Dick yet. So yeah, another one I'm keeping. Okay, now this is another one that's been on my shelf forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and it's hella long. Well, it's not that long. It's 533 pages, but you know the type is perfect. The font is perfect. So this is Louis de Bernière, and it's Captain Corelli's Mandolin. This has been recommended to me from two really good friends, and I picked it up, and I still haven't read it yet. I don't know what I'm waiting for. This one, I know it's not going to be an easy read. It's literary fiction, but I hear it's really, really good. This came out in 1994 the first time, and then it came out again in vintage edition in 1998, and this is a vintage edition. Let's see. So it says, it is 1941, and Captain Antonio Corelli, a young Italian officer, is posted to the Greek island of Cephalonia as part of the occupying forces. At first, he is ostracized by the locals, but as a conscientious but far from fanatical soldier whose main aim is to have a peaceful war, he proves in time to be civilized, humorous, and a consummate musician. When the local doctor's daughter's letters to her fiance, a member of the underground, go unanswered, the working of the eternal triangle seems inevitable. But can the fragile love survive as a war of bestial savagery gets closer and the lines are drawn between invader and defender? So yeah, this one I'm going to keep and test out and see if I can, understand it and love it. Next, I have As Meat Loves Salt. This is another one that I've been wanting to read for a long time. And it's also not a short book either. It's coming in at 532 pages. This is by Maria McCann. And when this came out, everybody who reads literary fiction was raving about it. This one came out in 2001. This one is kind of old. Anyway, it says England, the 1640s, a country in the turmoil of civil war. Jacob Cullen is an educated, hot-tempered manservant in a royalist household. Although drawn to the country's mood of revolution, his greatest desire is to marry and settle with his childhood love, Caro. But on the very day of their wedding, armed horsemen approach. He knows he must flee to hide his new political beliefs and an even greater crime. Dragging with him his new wife and younger brother, he embarks on a doomed escape. It will lead him to serve in Cromwell's new model army, to risk a forbidden love affair, and to wreak havoc on the lives of others, but mostly on his own fortunes. So yeah, it's supposed to be a really good one, this one. And the fact that it's in 1640 is kind of cool too. So this shelf seems to have a lot of really like books that are set in a older times. So that's kind of interesting. All right, this one is called Death Sentence, and it's by David Lodge. I'm not sure about this one either. I bought it at W.H. Smith because the sticker is still on it. It says, when the university merged his Department of Linguistics with English, Professor Desmond Bates took early retirement, but he is not enjoying it. He misses the purposeful routine of the academic year and has lost his appetite for research. His wife, Winifred's late flowering career goes from strength to strength, reducing his role to that of escort and house husband. While the rejuvenation of her appearance makes him uneasily conscious of the age gap between them. The monotony of his days is relieved only by wearisome journeys to London to check on the welfare of his 89-year-old father, an ex-dance musician who stubbornly refuses to move from the house he is patently unable to live in with safety. So this one sounds really good. David Lodge writes kind of stories like that about people that are like in a kind of difficult period of their lives and they're awkward and not knowing how to deal with what's going on with them. So I think I'm going to keep this one. Okay, the next one I have here is Shanghai Girls by Lisa See. Now this one came out and I remember a lot of people were saying how good it is. I've never read a Lisa See before, but I've heard Lisa See books are really good. So this is about two sisters, or is it two friends? Wait, no, two sisters that leave Shanghai and go to the U.S. as Chinese brides. So this is interesting. I'm going to keep it. All right, this book I absolutely, oh, nice bookmark. Look at that bookmark. Wow. That's a nice one. All right, so this is Suite Française, and this is by Irene Nemirovsky. This is a fantastic book. I absolutely adored reading this book. I read it with my book club here in Normandy. This one, it says, beginning in Paris on the eve of the Nazi occupation in 1940. Suite Française tells the remarkable story of men and women thrown together in circumstances beyond their control. As Parisians flee the city, human folly surfaces in every imaginable way. A wealthy mother searches for sweets in a town without food. A couple is terrified at the thought of losing their jobs, even as their world begins to fall apart. Moving on to a provincial village now occupied by German soldiers, the locals must learn to coexist with the enemy in their town, their homes, even in their hearts. This, if you have not read this book, I highly, highly recommend it. Irene Nemirovsky, like, she was writing during the war, her stories on like toilet paper type, paper, real thin. And there were slithers of, it wasn't like a whole sheet of paper. And she was writing really tiny, really tiny, really tiny. And it's her children that found the books up in the attic and they got them published. But this is one of the many books that she had written because she was quite well known at the time. But yeah, I recommend this one. Highly recommend it. All right, the next one I have, which I'm not sure about. I think I may have tried to read this one and I couldn't get into it, but I may keep it just to see if I can get into it now. It's called The Blindfold by Siri Hustvedt. So Siri Hustvedt is Paul Auster's wife. And I think I had some books on bookshelf, either 2 or 3, one from Paul Auster that I wanted to read. So this one is called The Blindfold. And this one, let me see if I can tell you what it's about because it doesn't have an explanation page. I just see Hustvedt's writing is pushy but attractive. Somber, painful, but often mesmerizing. The novel provides a troubling prognosis for women in a world of use or be used. So I'm going to try to read this one again and see if I can get into it. Okay, next I have 10th of December by George Saunders. I think this is short stories. So, here we go with the short stories again. I'm gonna try to make an effort with the short story situation because I am starting to find out that I have more short story collections than I thought I had. But this one has very good ratings, so I'm definitely keeping this one. All right, the next two books are by an author that I really like called Jonathan Tropper. Let's see if I can remember the name of the other book that I read by Jonathan Tropper that was hysterical. The Book of Joe. Everything changes by me. How to Talk to No. Wasn't that? Let me see. I don't remember the name of the other book that I read, but it was very, very funny. Oh, here it is. This Is Where I Leave You. Oh my goodness. This book was funny, but yet endearing to a certain extent. I decided to pick up these two because he has this way of writing where there are things that happen in the story that are humoristic. And I need more laughing when I'm reading. So I had picked up these two and I didn't even read them. I don't even really remember that I bought these. But I must have bought these at the bookshop. So the first one is One Last Thing Before I Go. This one, it says, Meet Silver, 44, divorce, not exactly living the dream. And his ex-wife is about to marry another man. The only good thing is his life is his teenage daughter, Casey, and she would probably say the opposite about him. Then Casey drops a bombshell. She is pregnant. Silver knows he has to change, and when he discovers he has a fatal heart condition, he decides it's time to make a list. Be a better father, be a better man, fall in love, and die. So that's this one. I'm keeping it. The other one is How to Talk to a Widower. This one, it says, when Doug married Haley, beautiful, smart, and 10 years older, he left his carefree Manhattan life to live in the suburbs with her and her teenage son, Russ. 3 years later, at 29, Doug has been a widower for 12 months and just wants to drown himself in self-pity and Jack Daniels, but his family has other ideas. So, yeah, I'm keeping this one as well. They're not very long, but they could have some humorous things going on there, and I need humor. I need humor. Okay, the next one is When God Was a Rabbit by Sarah Winman. I don't know why I bought this book because I'm not going to keep this book, I don't think. It says this is a book about a brother and a sister. It's a book about childhood and growing up, friendships and families, triumph and tragedy and everything in between. More than anything, it's a book about love in all its forms. I don't know. It just seems kind of like, nah, I'm not keeping that. All right, this next one, The Gathering by Anne Enright. I read this. I did not enjoy it. I just found it like 3-star. This is a family story. She usually writes family stories. Anne Enright is an Irish writer. This one, it says, the 9 surviving children of the Hegarty clan are gathering in Dublin for the wake of their wayward brother Liam, drowned in the sea. His sister Veronica collects the body and keeps the dead man company, guarding the secret she shares with him. Something that happened in their grandmother's house in the winter of 1968. As Enright traces the line of betrayal and redemption through 3 generations, she shows how memories warp and secrets fester. As in all Enright's works, her distinctive intelligence twists the world a fraction and gives it back to us in a new and unforgettable light. I read it, but I didn't love it. This was a Man Booker winner of 2007, but I didn't love it. I really didn't love it. I wondered if I should reread it again. I don't know. I wonder if I should reread it again, just because It's been so long. I'm gonna reread it. I'm gonna reread it because I really do want to like Anne Enright, but the one that she wrote after that, after The Gathering, I didn't like that as much either. But there are other books on her list: Portable Virgin, The Wig My Father Wore, What Are You Like, The Pleasure of Eliza Lynch. So there are other ones, but I think I'm gonna keep it and reread it and see and make my final decision. If I like it, I might keep it depending on how much I like it. And if I just think it's okay, like 2 or 3 stars, I'll get rid of it. All right, the last one I have on this shelf is called The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. This one I should have been and read, but I have not. But bruh, can we look at the font size? Oh my God. This is, how long is this freaking book? This book is 636 pages, but look at this ridiculously small font. And this book, I mean, to find this in hardcover now would be really hard because this is a book that came out all the way back in, is it 2013 maybe? No, it's even worse, 2000. The year 2000. And I really like this cover, but yeah, the font size is crazy small. I'll make it work. Maybe I can do like a immersion with audio, and that you know, that'll get me through it a little better with the eyes. So I'm keeping this one. So there we have it. I'm only giving one away. And I'm keeping this bookmark out because I love it. I love it, love it, love it. All right, so that's it. Those are the books. Comment below and let me know what you think. This is a very literary fiction stack with a lot of books that are taking place 15th century, 17th century, 18th century. So that should be interesting for me. A couple of them with an Italian feel, and being that I'm learning Italian, that works for me. So we will see. So comment below. Let me know what you think about the stack. Is there anything in here you're interested in? If so, what is it? Is there anything you're like, girl, no, don't read that? Let me know that too. And I'll be back tomorrow with video bookshelf 10, I think. Well, you know, I'll be back with one. I'll be back.